History is often written by the victors, but in the digital age, history is written by the algorithms. In July 2025, a story began to spread through the arteries of the internet, a story so audacious, so geometrically impossible that it shouldn't have fooled a child with a globe, yet it fooled millions. They called it the Northern Corridor, a secret $120 billion alliance between Canada and Mexico, a massive infrastructure project designed to do the impossible, bypass the United States of America, no tariffs, no Trump, just pure, unadulterated trade flowing from the snowy tundras of the Yukon to the deserts of Sonora. It was the ultimate geopolitical checkmate. There is just one problem. It's a lie built on bad data, worse geography, and a fundamental misunderstanding of how trains work. Welcome back. We need to talk about what is happening right now because the mainstream media is completely missing the forest for the trees. You've seen the videos, you've seen the TikToks claiming Canada and Mexico are building a freedom route to escape Donald Trump's tariffs. And look, I get it. The situation is dire. President Trump has threatened a 30% tariff on our closest allies. He's effectively declared economic war on the continent. But here is the reality check that MAGA media doesn't want you to hear, and that the AI bots are hiding. The Northern Corridor isn't a solution. It's a distraction. While everyone is looking for a secret railroad, the actual economy is bleeding out. We are talking about a policy that could cost the average American household over $1,700 a year. We are looking at the potential loss of capacity for 360,000 electric vehicles. This isn't 4D chess. It's economic suicide. So if the railroad is fake, why is the panic so real? To understand that, we have to peel back the layers of this $120 billion onion. And trust me, it stinks. Today, we are going to sue a rumor, or at least cross-examine it, because from a legal standpoint, the idea of a Northern Corridor bypass violates not just the laws of physics, but the supreme law of the land, the USMCA. Let's look at the evidence. The viral claim says this project launches in September 2025. Exhibit A, we did a discovery process on this date. And do you know what we found? A massive international treaty? A secret handshake? No. We found that the railway company CPKC is planning to plant some Oyamel fir trees in Mexico. That's it. That's the launch. They aren't building a bypass. They're gardening. We also found this issue of Trains magazine. Fascinating reading if you like bridge repair schedules, but legally insufficient to overthrow American hegemony. The Northern Corridor term actually refers to a trade route in East Africa. Uganda, Rwanda, Kenya. Unless Canada has secretly relocated to the Great Rift Valley, this is a case of mistaken identity. So, here's the Earth. It's roundish. And here is North America. You got Canada on top, the hat, Mexico on the bottom, the beard, and the United States in the middle, the face. Now, if you want to move a car part from the beard to the hat, you have to go through the face. That's just how shapes work. But the internet said, no, we will go around. To bypass the US by sea, you have to sail from Veracruz to Halifax. That's like walking to the kitchen by going through the neighbor's house. 3 streets over. It takes 14 days. Modern factories run on just-in-time delivery. That means if the part isn't there in 4 hours, the factory shuts down. So this bypass is basically just a really expensive cruise for car parts that will arrive late and cost double. Great plan, guys. 10 out of 10 economics. And look, I get why people want this to be true. The alternative is dealing with the reality of 2025 trade policy, which is roughly as enjoyable as a root canal performed by a goat. President Trump sent a letter to Mexico threatening a 30% tariff. 30%. That's not a tariff. That's a ransom note. And the reason this Northern Corridor rumor went viral is because we are desperate for a loophole. We want to believe there's a secret trapdoor in the North American economy, but there isn't. The only trapdoor leads to a basement filled with expensive avocados and unemployed auto workers in Detroit. And speaking of Detroit, let's talk about that $3.1 billion figure the internet loves to throw around. The rumor says Detroit lost $3.1 billion. We checked. Do you know where that number comes from? It's the budget deficit for California's healthcare system. They literally just grabbed a scary number from a different state and glued it to Michigan. That is the rigorous economic analysis of a drunk uncle at Thanksgiving. If the Northern Corridor is a myth, what is the reality? To understand how North America actually works, we have to look at the steel and concrete that binds it together. This is the CPKC network. In 2023, Canadian Pacific merged with Kansas City Southern for $31 billion. It created the only single-line railway connecting the 3 nations. But notice the route. It doesn't avoid the United States. It runs directly through its heart: Kansas City, Shreveport, Laredo. In 2025, CPKC opened a second span of the International Railway Bridge at Laredo. This project doubled the capacity of the border crossing. This is the irony of the bypass rumor. The actual infrastructure being built is designed to increase traffic through the U.S., not route around it. Why? Because of unit economics. Moving a container by rail from San Luis Potosi to Chicago takes 4 days. Moving it by sea to circumvent U.S. tariffs would take weeks. The Northern Corridor implies a separation of economies. The reality is a deepening integration. The Laredo Bridge is the choke point. If tariffs hit, they hit here, and they hit hard. The rumor claims a $120 billion investment. But in the world of infrastructure, $120 billion buys you a high-speed rail network for a continent. It doesn't just appear overnight. The real investments are happening in the energy sector. The Northern Corridor in Canada is actually a network of winter roads and energy pipelines for the Arctic, vital for mining diamonds and gold, not for shipping F-150 parts to Mexico City. The wires have been crossed. The map has been misread. A 31-year-old trade bloc presents to the emergency room with acute systemic inflammation and hypovolemic shock. The patient, North America, had a history of healthy circulation. Goods flowed freely across borders. But recently, North America began ingesting a toxic substance, universal baseline tariffs. The active ingredient? A 10 to 20% levy on all imports. Almost immediately, the patient's Detroit organ began to fail. We see here that the automotive industry supports over 108,000 downstream jobs. The tariff acts as a vasoconstrictor. It tightens the flow of parts. The just-in-time system, which relies on constant flow, went into cardiac arrest. The 360,000 EVs referenced in the patient's chart were not lost cells, but potential new growth, the capacity of the Ultium CAM plant in Quebec. This growth was stunted. The patient is suffering from hypertariffemia. The body is attacking itself. The U.S. tariff on Mexican steel raises the cost of the American car, which reduces sales, which leads to layoffs in Michigan. This is the feedback loop of the 2025 trade war. The Peterson Institute warned us. A 10% tariff doesn't just tax the foreign company, it taxes the domestic consumer. The $3.1 billion deficit seen in California is just the first symptom. As costs rise, capital flees. We are seeing a realignment, not a northern corridor bypass, but a reshoring retreat. Companies aren't building secret railroads. They are canceling projects. The September 2025 launch wasn't a beginning. For many industries, it marked the end of the era of seamless integration. To understand why this matters, we have to talk about comparative advantage. The North American economy was built on the idea that Canada provides the raw materials, energy, minerals, Mexico provides the manufacturing labor, and the United States provides the capital and the consumption. This triangle is the most efficient economic machine in history. The Northern Corridor myth suggests that Canada and Mexico can form a line, excluding the U.S. But structurally, that is impossible. Canada's exports are primarily energy and raw materials. Mexico's exports are finished goods. Without the U.S. consumer market in the middle, the line has no destination. The dire situation isn't that they will leave, it's that they can't. They are trapped in a cage with a volatile partner. The 30% tariff isn't a divorce, it's domestic violence, and the victim is the supply chain. The Northern Corridor is a fantasy of escape. But in economics, there is no escape from gravity. In the game of empires, truth is the first casualty. We live in an era of post-truth economics. A video about a fake railroad gets millions of views because it offers us something the real world refuses to give us: hope. We want to believe that there is a master plan, that someone, somewhere, is building a bridge to save us. But the $120 billion isn't real. The bridge doesn't exist. The uncomfortable truth is that we are fragile. The systems we built, the supply chains, the treaties, the alliances are only as strong as the trust that binds them. When that trust erodes, no amount of concrete can save us. So, there you have it. The Northern Corridor is a hoax, a ghost train. But the damage to our economy? That's as real as it gets. The dire situation isn't a conspiracy, it's policy. And the only way to fix it isn't with a secret map. It's with a ballot box. Or maybe a really good lawsuit. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe for more existential dread, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you think of these tariffs. Do you agree or disagree? And are we headed in the right direction? Or if we need a new leader at the helm that understands economics?